Hi, this is Mr. Vandergriff, and this is lesson 1.1, Ecology Field Trip. Super excited for you guys to get outside, take a little break from being on electronics, watching TV, Disney Plus, whatever you're doing, and just get outside and experience nature. Just before we do that, I just want to challenge you to do something nice for someone without them asking. Whether maybe it's vacuuming the entire house or mopping all the floors in the house or maybe cleaning all the windows inside and out or doing the dishes without being asked to do that or maybe making a meal, lunch or dinner. I absolutely love doing things without being asked and for others just to kind of see how they react to random acts of kindness. So give it a try. All right. Now, let's get into our lesson. If you would please make sure you have something to write with right now, whether it's your science journal, piece of paper, or even the packet that maybe you picked up at the school, and find somewhere to write. And in this journal, write what I'd like you to do is answer this question. You're only going to be writing for 2 minutes. What type of wildlife have you observed in Ramona and give details? So go ahead, pause the video right now, and write for 2 minutes thinking what wildlife have you experienced in Ramona. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, so hopefully you did pause the video and give it some thought. You might have said maybe you've seen a possum or a raccoon or maybe a gopher snake or a rosy boa or maybe a rattlesnake or uh, maybe what would that be? A king snake. I'm not sure. Or maybe you've seen a red-tailed hawk or red-shouldered hawk. Or believe it or not, we have a pair of nesting bald eagles in Ramona. So maybe you've seen those in the grasslands. So or maybe it's a small beetle or who knows what it might be, even a blue jay. I'm not sure, a bobcat. But whatever it is, there's some cool things in Ramona. And so I've got a picture of this little guy here, one of my favorite. This is a red fox. And when I first moved into Ramona a long time ago, on our property, we had five. So it was like a mom, dad, and then three little, I don't know, pups, three little smaller red foxes. And it was just a joy to see them always visit and looking for food around our house. Absolutely love red foxes. And the one thing I didn't know about red foxes is they have claws that allow them to climb straight up a tree. Didn't believe it till one night we were coming home right by the mailboxes. Red fox runs right into an oak tree and then just goes straight up the tree. And we were like, wow, we were totally in shock. Super cool though. So hopefully you've experienced some cool wildlife in Ramona because we definitely have it here. Now, the learning intention is that all students will make detailed observations from a visit to an outdoor ecosystem space. And all seventh graders will then, from that, develop investigative scientific questions. We'll talk about that next class. Now, your success criteria is an I can statement. So, this is you. I can make and record detailed observations of what I feel, hear, see, and smell during my visit to the outdoors. You should also, I can make inferences on how living or biotic and non living abiotic components are interconnected or related. And lastly, I can develop 3 to 4 scientific investigative questions from my observations. So, for the ecology field trip, the things you want to bring is something to write with. You want to bring your developing and using model handout. Looks like this in the packet that you picked up, or you can print that off our website. Hat, water, sunscreen, cell phone for emergencies. Now, we have always done this field trip at the school in the back, and it's been really amazing because in the very back of our school, we have these grasslands. And you can see the back gate right there. You can see this ecosystem here, and there's actually a creek that runs through here, a little riparian ecosystem with all of this grass. So at first you just see grass or dead grass, doesn't look like much is there. But the more you start to work on your observation skills, the more you're going to see in this ecosystem. And we really want you to slow down and find as much interactions going on in the ecosystem. So back then when we were at school, you'd go through the gate, absolutely silent. You'd find a place to sit quietly, make sure you're 20 feet apart from other students, absolutely no talking. Quietly make at least 30 observations, include sketches and drawings. And then from your observations, you're going to come up with some questions. We'll talk about that again, as I mentioned, next class. And you want to have fun and really enjoy nature. Here's just a couple shots from our backfield over the years. It's best to wear pants as you're sitting in weeds or dirt or actually in nature. So, for the home ecology field trip, here are the guidelines. You're going to find a place to sit quietly. You're going to try your best to remain silent, and then you're going to be filling out and using, you're developing and using model handout. Again, it looks like this. I've already filled mine out this morning on my field trip I took, and then make all your observations on your handout. So, you want to describe the phenomena. That's going to be number 1 up here. And all you're going to do, as it says in the instructions, lesson plan instructions, is you're going to give a name to the ecosystem that you are observing. So that's the phenomena, that's the occurrence that we're observing for those 30 minutes. So I just named mine Dirt Patch in Chaparral Field Ecosystem. And then second, we want to define the boundary. So where I was sitting, I was kind of in here. And then I could see about 50 yards away, and then 50 yards this way, 50 yards this way, and I could see about 50 yards that way. So my ecosystem was quite big that I was observing, but maybe yours is in your backyard and your boundary is going to be your fence. I'm not sure. One student was mentioning in their backyard they have a creek, and so they're going to go down and observe the creek that's in their backyard. And then third is you want to draw and label the components of the ecosystem. So every single thing that you see or feel, whether it's wind blowing on the side of your face, then write it down. That's a component of the ecosystem. Maybe if you're feeling the dirt and it's really moist, well then that water in the soil, that is a component of the ecosystem. So you're going to be doing that for at least 30 minutes. Some might get into it and might go longer. 45 minutes, an hour. It's up to you, but at least give it 35 minutes. So right here, you can see Isabel, a former student. Looks like a seed pod with spikes. Looks like it came from this plant here. And then I want you to hear what Josh has to say. So this is a couple years ago. And when we were done making all our observations, I had everyone share their observations with their partner. So go ahead and listen to some of their observations.
There's a big puddle of water. It's damp. The dirt's really damp. There's a lot of trash. It's really shady where I was. There's a lot of mud. There's weeds everywhere. The river's like crumbled up. Everything's crumbled, like the trees and stuff. The logs have fallen. There's trees everywhere. There's sand. The wood's over.
What about the lizards?
Oh yeah. So there's a bunch of blue-belly lizards, and there was like a family of them. So yeah, there's a lot of those. They were climbing in the trees. At first, I hear this like scattering noise, and then I looked around, and it took me like a minute to find them. And then I see the outline on there because they blend in really good. I see the outline and it's a blueberry.
Yeah, so the blueberry lizards are the western fence lizards. So Josh was pretty excited to see a whole family he described as those. So again, when you're done, make sure you share with your fabulous audience the things that you observed in your ecosystem. And then I think right here, number 4, is identifying relationships between the components. And this is a little more challenging. This takes a little more thinking on your part. So let's say that you observed a small plant growing in some soil. Again, so right here, the plant is biotic, which is living. And the soil, even though it has living things in it, is abiotic. But it might have microbes and nematodes and worms and bacteria and all sorts of other things. So those things are living, but the actual soil itself and the elements it's made up of is not living. So we call that abiotic, without life. All right, so you've got, and so maybe the relationship here would be that the plant is putting its roots in the soil and it gives it stability and a substrate, something to ground the plant. Also, the soil can absorb water, and then now the plant can pull that water from the roots out of the soil. So that could be one relationship there. Now again, these are in class. What we did is everyone would list what was living and non-living, and then they would make a connection, like how are the two related to each other. So again, you can pause this, take a look at what others came up with, but you want to come up with your own as well. So here's Isabel and their partner here. believe Aiden, and they were making connections on their whiteboard. So let's take a look at what this looks like.
Spider and that's their habitat. Never mind. Don't they use trash? You know, for the nest? Trash.
So here's a video of Macy kind of describing some of her reasoning of how two components of an ecosystem are related.
The dirt would go to the grass because the grass needs dirt to grow.
And let's move on to the last one, which would be use the model to explain what's happening. So for the explanation, what I'd like you to do is really just write me 3 or 4 sentences here. If you need more space on the back, that's fine. And also if you need more space identifying these relationships, put that on the back as well. So in the explanation, you're going to be answering this question. How are living and non-living parts of the ecosystem supporting each other? So give some thought to that, and that would be your explanation. So what I'd like to do now is some teacher modeling. And so this morning I went out and I kind of modeled what I expect you to do in your ecosystem that you're observing. So let's go ahead and take a look at this video that I put together. Hi guys, it's Mr. Vandergriff here with our ecology field trip, and I just want to make sure you are prepared. So make sure you've got some type of hat. I got this big shaded hat right here. Make sure you've got some drinking water. Make sure you've applied sunscreen. I've done that. And I've got my EpiPen because I'm allergic to all sorts of Hymenoptera bees and wasps, things like that. And then also make sure that you have, let's see here. There you go. Also make sure you have this developing and using models handout, because you're going to be recording all your observations on that, and a pen or a pencil. I'm going to use a pen. Might be a little easier. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So I found a nice location. All right. So then what I'm going to do is I am going to start 30 minutes on my phone. Make sure you're not on your phone. Just, that phone is there to make an emergency phone call if you need to, or you can time that you're at least observing for 30 minutes. All right, so what I've done is I've got my developing and using model handout. And the first thing I'm supposed to do is describe the phenomena. Well, the phenomena is the ecosystem that we're watching. So I'm putting down here, we will call this dirt patch in chaparral field. You look right here, that's what I've put down. This thing is number 2, define the boundary. So the boundary, oh, wow, just saw a really nice crow fly over. Okay, I'm getting distracted. So the boundary is gonna be pretty much as far as I can see in each direction. And I can see about 50 yards. So now that's number 2. So my ecosystem, this little boundary line here, this is the boundaries that I'm observing that ecosystem. So my phenomena that I'm observing is the dirt patch in the chaparral. That's where I'm sitting. So the number 3 says, draw and label the components. Number 3 right here. Whoops, you can see. Draw and label components. So I am going to, for the next 30 minutes, sit here absolutely silent and write down every single thing I can feel, smell, hear. So I'm gonna just start right now. I am under the sun here. So I'm drawing the sun. right there, the sun. And on top of that, I'm putting the full, intense rays. So, I'm looking up, and there's just slight clouds. Very few clouds. So, if I come over here, there's all sorts. Let me move some of this out of the way. There we go. Get these weeds out of the way. I've got these sticks. There's sticks everywhere. So I'm putting those down. I'm going to write down sticks. Okay. There's sticks. How many sticks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. See, about 35. So I'm putting down sticks, 35. But on closer observation with this stick, look here, it's hard to see. I can see there's a lichen on this stick. So I'm gonna write that down, lichen. Next thing I see, obviously I'm writing down is dirt. But I got a stick here, and I'm scratching the dirt. The top layer is extremely hard, but then when you dig through it, it gets soft. So those are details, put those down. So I see this plant right here, and I'm gonna write that down. I know this is California buckwheat, but also here. So I'm gonna record that and sketch a picture of that. And then if I come over here, I've got this other plant. It's a different plant, tall. This purple plant here. And I just see a little, I don't know if it's a bee or a wasp. There's all sorts of insects, tiny little insects flying around these flowers. Kind of hard to see. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and sketch. I'm gonna take one of these. I know this is the California cucumber. It's a vine. Notice again on this stick, I see more of the sticks here, and I see the lichen right there. That was cool. I'd see a lot of bees. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bees going flower to flower in this little weedy looking plant next to me. Good thing I have my EpiPen with me, right? For any allergic reactions if I get stung. So right where I'm sitting, there's a giant rock, but if you look, there's a bunch of shade underneath there, and I see a bunch of scat, like poo. I see a bunch of scat from maybe some type of rat or whatever. So there's a big rock with a little ledge with some shade over here. So right over there, I think is a scrub jay. And then I can hear above me, just a little while ago, a red-tailed hawk. Right below here, this rock is covered with this really cool lichen. And then just where this rock's pretty close to where I was sitting, all these monkey flowers. Orange sticky monkey flowers. So I'm going to stop the video right here, and hopefully this video has helped model what I expect you guys to do out on your field trip making your observations. So after you draw all the components and label them in the ecosystem, whatever you observed, Then number 4 says that you should be looking for relationships between the components. So again, let's take a look here. So you've got some soil, dirt, we've got a hole in there. Again, I'm not sure what lives in there. Maybe it's a gopher snake, maybe it's a tarantula, maybe it's a ground squirrel. So we do know that whatever lives in there, like let's say I did observe a squirrel running around, well, maybe how they're connected, the components, is the ground squirrel lives inside there. It can escape from predators. It can escape from the intense sun. So that could be the interconnection or the relationship there. So hopefully that helps. And then the last piece is going to be number 5, where you're going to explain in 3 or 4 sentences what is going on in your ecosystem and how everything is related. Please make sure that you're making detailed observations, but also I really want you to have fun. Just getting outside and just making observations about the natural world is really cool. Alright, so hopefully this video was helpful in lesson 1.1.